next 55 minutes, I'm going to get in as many voices as possible from Israel. There are civilians, there are IDF spokesperson, there is the spokesperson of the Israeli embassy to India, and many more voices who are going to give us an encapsulated view of what is happening in Israel, what is their plea to the government of Israel and to the world. I start off my telecast with Shmuel Hugi. Now he's joining me from Tel Aviv. He's joining me live from Tel Aviv. He is an Israeli working professional. Shmuel, my first question to you: What's the current situation in Tel Aviv? Have things calmed down now?
So we just got back from the shelter. It was like sirens over here now. Not easy at all. Very stressed. For me, myself, I just got some new names or friends, family that killed, that found dead after a few days that they were killed today. And yeah, it's difficult. We're always like trying to be optimistic, and on the other hand, we're terrifying. And after that, we're starting to be angry. And after that, we're starting again, and then we're optimistic. This is how it goes actually right now.
How long were you at the shelter? And where? Was it in Tel Aviv?
Yeah, I live in Tel Aviv. You know, we have sirens all around the country, from north to south. And we have like a few rules about what do you do when it's siren. So here in Tel Aviv, we have 1 minute to walk to the shelter before like the bomb comes to this area, and we're waiting a few minutes after to be safe and make sure that it's safe to be out.
Shmuel, also tell me about your family. Where all are they located? Are they all in Tel Aviv with you?
So I'm here alone in my apartment. I live usually with my boyfriend. My boyfriend serves as an army officer. He's fighting right now. I want to send to him and his friends all the support and the love that I can. He already lost 7 friends. Some of them was their soldiers. He was their commander. And I have 2 brothers. They're called to reserve. And they're over there now. And my parents are strong, and we're all strong for them, but my heart is with my boyfriend and with my family and with everywhere that just saw this terrifying war, and with the victim's family.
Yeah. You spoke about how your boyfriend is now on the border, on the Gaza Strip. He's serving for the IDF. Obviously, it's a scary situation, you know, when your family member, your near and dear one is fighting it out, and there is every possibility that his life may be sacrificed in this war against Hamas. How are you holding yourself?
I always remember that I got to keep my head up for him, because when I'm strong, he's a bit stronger, and when I'm sad, he's a bit sadder. So for him and for everywhere else, we need to have a high morale as a country, as a nation. It's nothing to do with being sad and non-optimistic. We have to believe and have faith. But this time it's really another kind of war. We used to be in operations in the past, but now the stories that just started to coming up about what happened on last Saturday and what keeps being happening, and it's horrifying. I've never, beside the Holocaust stories, I've never heard about this brutality and cruel acting of terrorism, and we have still a lot of people that we don't know what happened to them. We don't know where they are. We have a lot of hostages Some of them are citizens of the world, not just citizens of Israel. So it's the world problem now, and we all need to fight against it.
If you could also tell me more about what happened on Saturday in Tel Aviv. Were there terrorists that had entered into Tel Aviv as well? Were they also, mutilating, killing bodies? There were reports of, rapes being committed on women. There were children who were beheaded. But did this onslaught also enter into Tel Aviv?
No, no one entered physically to Tel Aviv. We had a lot of sirens. Actually, the first siren was 6:30 a.m. I was sleeping, obviously, it's Saturday. And we just woke up with this noise of siren. You got to understand, it's just got into your dream while you're sleeping. Nothing can get you ready for that. And when it happened, I just woke up. I know what to do in these cases because we had it before. We came to the shelter with my neighbors, and then we're starting to understand it's not a usual operation. It's not just the rocket. Something is going on in the borders villages next to Gaza. And we understand that right now, people of Israel, their lives is in the hugest danger ever. The terrorists, they just entered illegally to their houses, killed whatever they could. We're right now hearing stories about rape of women. We saw babies that kidnapping. They're threatening them. Some of them kept the children alive, but they killed their parents in front of them. They're gonna carry this trauma forever. It's so brutal.
Shmuel, there are a lot of these videos and visuals that are circulating on social media, and I shudder at the thought of actually being present. And the latest news that was coming in, it just shocked the world, that there were 40 babies that were killed in one of these kibbutz that was attacked by these terrorists. Now, I also understand, I have been in Israel, I've made several Israeli friends, and they are in, they are always, the bags are packed, they're ready to move, because there are Israel, there are terror attacks, there are rocket bombings that are reported throughout the year, but nothing of this gravity and this intensity has ever happened before. How do you and Israelis keep up the momentum and the morale and the resilience to fight it every single day of the year, living in fear this way?
If you visited Israel, you must know there's no other people in the world like the people of Israel. Right now, I just arrived from 4 hours making food for soldiers. We gathered something like 200 people in a hotel kitchen, and we made 4 hours food. People are spending their days all day long to collect equipment for the families, for the soldiers in the border and everywhere else. And they're always looking for drivers, like taxi drivers are volunteering, and drivers that have a truck, cars do this as well. The solidarity between the people of Israel right now, how we feel united by this horrible situation. There's nothing compared to this. Trust me, I've visited the world. I've never saw this kind of doing, of being for each other, taking care of each other, and this kind of thing making us feel better.
my heart goes out to you and all the Israelis and the country of Israel, and it's a tough fight, battle, the war that you're fighting. And I hope this war comes to an end very soon and normalcy returns in Israel. I thank you, Samuel, for joining me on the telecast and giving us a first-hand account of what you are going through and what is happening in Tel Aviv. All right, I have one more civilian who's joining me from Tel Aviv. Her name is Daniela Trob. Now, Daniela is the head of civil advocacy group, and she lives in central Israel. She's currently went to a safer place, but nowhere is really safe at the moment, and she mostly been to shelters. Some of her friends have gone through worse. Daniela, are you in Tel Aviv right now?
No, right now I'm not in Tel Aviv. I'm up north at my parents because here there are less rockets. We only had in this area, only about 4 rockets. But in total on Israel, we had more than 4,000 rockets launched. And just to understand what it means, a rocket, it means that you have less than a minute to run to shelter. It means that you have to take your children, you have 3 children, let's say, you have to grab all of them and run to shelter before the rockets land, because not all of them are annihilated by Iron Dome. So I didn't want to stay in Tel Aviv, so I moved up north because running each time to shelter is extremely, extremely shocking. You tremble afterwards, you feel so useless and helpless to actually go through that, and you can't do anything. But I must say that that's not even the worst thing. That's something that we're used to. That's something that Hamas has been doing for years, and also Hezbollah has been doing for years upon us. The worst thing is what you spoke about before, what happened on Saturday, where hundreds of terrorists went through our border, infiltrated the villages next to the border, went from house to house, burned down the houses so that the citizens will go out because they were hiding in the houses. They burned the citizens alive. They put them in rows and shot them in the head. They decapitated babies. They took the women, raped them. You can see women paraded through the streets of Gaza because they were taken captive with blood between their legs. Those are the images that are coming out, and that is barbaric. That is exactly like ISIS, and not even worse than ISIS. And I'm speaking about more than 1,000 people dead and about 150 taken captive. And it's not soldiers taken captive, some are, but it's babies, half a year, 3-year-old, women, elderly, have been taken captive, and I don't even want to imagine what they're going through now in captivity. And those are the images we've been seeing all the time, and it's we can't not respond to something like that, because if the world, the Western world, the democratic liberal world won't respond to such horrific acts of terror, violence, and barbaric acts, it means that we've lost as a society. Not only Israel, the entire West, because we accept such behavior. So that's where the situation is currently.
Yes, the world is seeing those videos. The entire globe has come out in solidarity with Israel, which is heartening to see. But I was asking this question to Shmuel as well. How do you fight in front of this adversity? And I would say, Jews have gone through these atrocities, pogroms, Holocaust, and now this genocide for thousands of years. Your resilience is commendable, but do you see finally an end to this war and atrocities and attacks on Jews?
No. Especially because Israel is in a neighborhood that's a very difficult neighborhood. And there are some Muslim countries that are supporting us and decided to recognize the state of Israel and to make peace with us, such as the UAE. But there are some states here around that just refuse to acknowledge the existence of the Jewish Israeli state. and they also won't acknowledge it. There are people that want us dead so much that they're willing to do the acts that they did. That is complete hatred. That's nothing but that. And we could see these images in the Holocaust. There's never been such a large massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. And I'm not optimistic ever with the situation that there is a chance for real peace with such people, if you can even call them people, because I don't think people that do such things can even be called humane. Yeah.
Also, you told me that you are with your family, safe and sound for now in North Israel. Any of your family members or neighbors or friends who are out on the war front along the Gaza Strip who are fighting this bloody war?
So my brother lives in the UK. He came back specially to Israel to go to reserve duty. He's currently at the border, waiting for commands on what's going to happen. Many of my friends are currently at the different borders. One of them sent me an horrific WhatsApp saying that he doesn't want to say goodbye, but he's sending this WhatsApp in case of. We're extremely scared that there will be another front opening, not only Gaza, but Hezbollah, the other terror organization on our border in Lebanon. We know that will open, that will be extremely devastating, but we will prevail. We will win this.
Yeah. Does it also give you reassurances as a country that the world is supporting you, and particularly United States coming out in support of you and giving you military prowess by way of their battleships and their warships and their aircraft carrier?
Absolutely, it means the world to us. As Shmuel said before, the moral is extremely low. We're trying to keep strong, we're united, but the moral is extremely low. And to see such support from different countries, from heads of states, from celebrities, from the general public, the amount of WhatsApps I received from my friends around the world is outstanding. And it just means the world to us, the way people are standing with us, and we believe that our fight is also the fight of the West, and the fight of any country that believes in human rights and dignity and respect and liberty. It's also their fight, and therefore we are proud of all the countries that aligned with us and are just backing us. Yes, the speech of the President of the US was amazing. We were just speechless when we heard it, because it was such great backing to us, and maybe a bit optimistic that Iran won't launch a war from Lebanon, because Gaza, the Hamas and Hezbollah are backed by Iran. So we're hoping the US will, their intervention with us will push back the Iranian forces.
Thank you, Daniela, for joining us on this telecast, sharing what is happening, and more strength to you. And here's hoping the war gets over very soon, and the Israelis are victorious over this terrorist organization, the global jihad that Hamas is part of as well. All right, I also have one more guest with me. His name is Eylon Levy. Eylon Levy is the former international advisor to the Israeli President Isaac Herzog. And Eylon, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. And my first question, of course, what is the current situation right now in Israel? And what have you been learning of about this military operation that has started in full stead along Gaza?
terms with the implications of the massacre that Hamas committed on the 7th of October. Details are beginning to come in from the villages along the Gaza borders of the most gruesome scenes imaginable. Hamas death squads went door to door, shooting people in the street, murdering people in their homes. There are videos on TV now of houses burnt to the ground with their inhabitants still inside. Reporters taken around Kfar Aza reporting bodies of dead children in body bags, reports some were beheaded. And Israeli society is now mobilizing. Israel is mobilizing for what is going to be a serious war against Hamas, a jihadi terror organization, not in order to deter it, not in order to degrade it, but in order to destroy Hamas. The world has to realize that what happened on Saturday is now the second deadliest terror attack in world history. 1,200 people have been murdered, and we're still finding new bodies. That makes the October 7th massacre the deadliest terror attack in world history after 9/11, and Israel is now getting ready, imposing a siege on the Gaza Strip to destroy Hamas's military and governing capabilities.
Right, and a very pertinent question. What, according to you, triggered this onslaught of Hamas terrorism into Israel?
Hamas has made no secret for many years about its intentions to murder Jews and destroy the state of Israel. It is a violent jihadi organization that exists for that purpose, to murder Jews and eradicate Israel. Just in 2018, some people may remember the scenes of Palestinian rioters running up against the Gaza border fence when Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar urged them to tear down the border and rip the Jews' hearts from their bodies. Back then, Israel took action to stop them invading, and now we know exactly what they would have done. This is something that Hamas has been planning for a very long time, out in the open. It's been very clear about its murderous intentions, and on Saturday it spotted a window of opportunity when Israel's defenses were low and Israel was distracted elsewhere, and they went in and committed the second deadliest terror attack in world history.
Now, Mr. Levy, do you also think that there is any specific reason for Hamas to take on Israel at a point of time when the country was celebrating a holiday?
It's important to understand the geopolitical context. Hamas is a jihadi terror organization supported by Iran. Iran has an interest, as another country that calls Israel a cancer, that says it wants to destroy Israel, in sabotaging the prospects for peace and normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia. And many observers have speculated that Iran is trying to derail the normalization talks between Israel and Saudi Arabia. But it's also important to understand this is an operation that Hamas has been planning for a very long time. Its stated aim is the murder of Jews and the eradication of the state of Israel. This isn't something new. This isn't something that was triggered overnight. This is a plan that Hamas was building for a long time while distracting Israel and trying to convince Israel that actually it was interested in governing the Gaza Strip, in improving economic conditions there. And it turns out that that was a ruse. That was a deception. That all along Hamas was using the money that it was receiving from Qatar, from international aid, in order to build a war machine that would perpetrate the second deadliest terror attack in world history. And they spotted an opportunity to do just that.
Is the war on Hamas the new war on terror, global jihad? And what do you think are going to be the implications of it?
Israel has been fighting terror for decades. It's been fighting the sort of jihadist terror that has struck other countries, and Israel is much more familiar with it. The war on terror in Israel is nothing new, but now it has gone up a step. What happened on the 7th of October was not only Israel's 9/11. It was not only Israel's Pearl Harbor. It was Israel's Bucha, in which over 1,000 people were massacred in cold blood. And Israel is now shifting gear in its war against terror, from saying that Hamas is a terror organization that can be degraded, that can be cut down to size, that can be deterred, to saying it is a terror organization that must be defeated. And it's interesting to observe some of the rhetoric we're hearing from the international community. Former President Barack Obama saying the world must support Israel in its efforts to dismantle Hamas. President Joe Biden yesterday in a very powerful speech saying that if the United States had suffered what Israel suffered, its response would be swift, decisive, and overwhelming. And that is exactly the gear shift that is going to happen in Israel's war against terror now, to a swift, decisive, and overwhelming response to destroy the jihadist organization known as Hamas.
Do you also feel at this point in time also expectant of the allies of Israel to join your war? What developments could lead to such escalation?
First of all, I have to say that the international solidarity has been overwhelming, from the Houses of Parliament and the European Commission and the Eiffel Tower and the Arch of Titus in Italy to monuments all over the world being lit up in blue and white. Israelis know that the civilized world is looking at Israel and understands what we have been through and recognizes Israel's right to self-defense. But let's be clear. As long as we're fighting Hamas inside the Gaza Strip, Israel is going to defend itself by itself. It needs international diplomatic support. It needs international public support. We're going to need shipments of arms and ammunitions. But as long as we're fighting Hamas, this is something Israel is going to do by itself through a total mobilization of the entirety of society and over 300,000 reserves. Now, you mentioned the American aircraft carrier, which is very important. They're sending an aircraft carrier into the Mediterranean in order to send a very clear message to Iran. Do not mess with Israel. If you mess with Israel, you're messing with the United States. It's an overwhelming projection of force here in the Mediterranean to make the situation very clear to Hamas's puppet masters in Tehran not to escalate this conflict and not to turn it into a regional war on multiple fronts. Because if Israel finds itself being attacked both on the south from Hamas and from the north from Hezbollah, its response is going to be truly overwhelming, and the world would be wise to do everything it can to avoid that.
Elon, where do you see this war headed here on?
Where is this war heading? That's a very difficult question. It's a very difficult question to answer because it depends on whether Hamas is going to surrender in response to Israel's overwhelming tactics to try to force it into surrender, or whether it's going to keep fighting until, well, I don't want to speak about the potential scenes of destruction that we may see. But it's important for the world to understand that Israel is committed now to destroying Hamas as a military organization capable of unleashing crimes against humanity from the Gaza Strip. And the world needs to use every lever of pressure, diplomatic and otherwise, on the Palestinians in order to get Hamas to be dismantled as an organization capable of committing crimes against humanity so that Israelis can live in peace and security, which is, of course, the key for Palestinians to live in peace and security too.
Thank you so much, Eloy, for joining us on this very special telecast. All right, on that note, I will quickly slip into a short break. Come right back. There are more Israeli voices who are going to speak with us about the turmoil they have faced, their families that have faced, and a number of their family members, neighbors, friends who are fighting this war against Hamas along the Gaza Strip.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.